One thing that you may have noticed is that there's been a weird kind of silence, right, coming from the left. There has been an eruption, an absolute volcano of things coming from the right in the United States. The MAGA chuds have been on the march.
Yes.
The Doge has been in the government. Donald Trump has been signing executive orders.
It's been quite fun.
And browbeating world leaders. And so on the other side of the aisle, what are the Democrats doing?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know.
Right. Well, the Democrats are... Well, they don't know either, actually. And they're kind of scurrying around trying to work out why they lost and what lessons they can learn. And the conclusions that they've come to is they need more woke. They were not woke enough. Woke wasn't the problem. Massive amounts of spending weren't the problem. No, and they need to figure something out. But the problem is, as the New York Times tell us here, quote, "We have no coherent message. Democrats struggle to oppose Trump." And so they've interviewed more than 50 Democratic leaders, and they just don't know what they're supposed to do now, because all of their position was based on shaming the opposition.
Well, also, they're sort of a hive mind, the left, aren't they? They just do what everybody else is doing. So now that they've had a failure, they don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah,
it's like a shoal of fish trying to follow each other, but none of them are going anywhere.
The leader has been taken out,
yeah.
And so now, which leader are you following? It's like, well, we're not. What are we doing? We don't have any thoughts of our own. But the problem is their entire political strategy was, we're going to call you names, and in fear of not being called a name, you're going to vote for us, right? Yes. You're going to support us. You're going to allow us to do what we want to do. And as soon as you get someone like Trump, who has just been like, no, just don't care. JD Vance, no, just don't care. Elon Musk, no, just don't care. Yeah. When the names no longer work, they find themselves just unable to do anything. They don't know what they're supposed to do.
I still see them throwing around a bit of white supremacist and Nazi and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But
yeah.
But again, that's the shaming language that's designed to inhibit your behaviour, rather than to propose an affirmative plan of what ought to be done. Because, of course,
it's all negative.
The affirmative plan of what ought to be done has been absolutely ruinous and has led to Trump being in control of everything in the United States, and Elon Musk being given access to the entire federal government to shred it, to militarize the border, to browbeat the foreign leaders. The Democrats have done everything in the exact opposite direction, and it's been destructive. And so, well, what are you going to offer them? Well, I mean, we could shame them for not allowing us to ruin everything, but now we've established a cadre of people who just don't care about our opinion on things and who think we're insane. and that cadre of people happens to be most of the American public as well, right? So what we'll do is just explore some of it. So the New York Times tells us, as the Democrats face the reality of Trump's second term, they share a fundamental belief. This moment calls for an inspirational message from their party. They just cannot decide what that should be. So in private meetings and public events, again, this is just going to be a bit of an enjoyment, a bit of a fun lap. Elected Democrats appear leaderless, rudderless, and divided. They disagree often and stridently how to oppose Mr. Trump. They have no shared understanding of why they lost the election, never mind how they can win one in the future. So they are completely demoralized, completely disrupted. But like, just each one just nipping at the rest. It's being like, no, this is why we did. No, this is why we did. It's like, yeah, but no one cares, right? You're wrong on everything, and you don't know what to do. And they're obviously massively demoralized by this. So they had their Democratic National Committee convention this weekend. They say in a first step towards elevating new leaders, and this is just amazing who they've chosen, an election this weekend for the chair of the DNC, the party chose a candidate called Ken Martin of Minnesota, who I'd never heard of. But to be honest with you, that puts him on a starting level of 0. Right? Yep. Because if you were to choose an established Democrat, you would have someone with a massive negative. But better to have, the sort of bland, neutral character that nobody knows.
Yes, that's a good point, actually, yes.
So you start a 0 rather than a negative.
Well, I mean, that worked for Keir Starmer.
Yeah, it did. For 5 minutes.
Yes.
And I'm sure it'll work for 5 minutes for Ken here. Yeah. But So he's planning to conduct a post-election review focused on tactics and messaging, because they've got 4 years of wandering in the wilderness, at least, where they don't know what they're going to do. So he conducted more than 50 interviews with Democratic leaders, which revealed a party that is struggling to define what it stands for. That's not true. That's not true. The Democrat Party knows exactly what it stands for: the complete and total destruction of the United States. Right? That's been their explicit messaging. They've literally said, we're going to ruin this country.
Well, as we saw from the last segment, they were enormously successful.
They were incredible. We are going to have the most open border in the world. We are going to have the most bloated, unbelievable government spending in the world.
Yes.
We are going to empower every enemy of the United States in the world.
Yes.
Like we are going to systematically try and eradicate or whittle down the white majority of the United States. We are against the concept of the United States. This is why the Democrats support the idea of the 1619 Project, to recast America as an entirely negative, tyrannical project that justifies tearing each aspect of it down. That's been their entire purpose.
Well, and
it was 8 years at least.
It was quite a clever strategy of going all in on destroying the United States and hating its people, until they discovered that when they got to the election, that platform was not popular with the American people.
Yes, but it really required someone who didn't care to reflect on their points and was just a kind of, bullheaded America good grug mentality,
yes,
which just happened to be exactly what Trump was. Right? Because a lot of the other Republicans are quite reflective and concerned about things, but Trump
in the Dune books, like the best warriors come from like really harsh worlds, like the warriors of Arrakis, because they had to go in. And if you grew up in pampered comfort, you basically you just rubbish at it.
Sure.
I mean, presumably the same thing happened to the right and the left, because we would get banned, censored, deplatformed, thrown off. So all of our arguments, our thinking had to be so tight. We kind of gone through an evolutionary bottleneck, whereas the left, they've just been winning everything for about, 40, 50 years at this point?
Yes.
And they're just soft.
Yeah, but they had such an easy ride against the right, because the right would be reflective on these things, whereas the left would be calculating and insidious. Right? And what it takes is for someone quite hard-headed and unreflective in the way that Trump is, to just say, no, America good, and I'm just going to hug the American flag, and I'm just going to just destroy you once I get in power. So, we'll see who the Americans choose.
It's quite obvious that the rhinos and most of the GOP establishment watched left-wing media, and their whole mental headspace was a left-wing mental headspace, whereas Trump was like, no, I only watch whatever is Fox News.
It's not just that. If you look at conservative thinkers, there are lots of conservative thinkers that are excellent, and they have a rich and broad understanding of the subjects, right? That's great. But then if you look at left-wing thinkers, they are also excellent, but just in a much more different way, because the conservative thinker is trying to have a proper understanding of the world and create a kind of mindset that fosters an appreciation for the things that exist. But the left-wing thinkers are entirely, frankly, evil and work towards your continual destruction, right? And so
they call it deconstruction or something, don't they?
Yeah. And so their plan is to construct a weapon to destroy you with. Your plan is to kind of work out why the Shire is a nice thing. Well, it's a lot easier to do what they're doing than to do what you're doing. And so conservative thinkers have never really found a proper, incisive moral weapon in the form of philosophy, whereas someone like Donald Trump, who probably has never read a book in his entire life, and I say that to his credit, doesn't need to. You get, no, what has my gut feel? Love America, simple as, hate the Democrats, defund the lot of them. It's that simple, right?
We should have tried the left side of the bell curve like many years ago.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. What happens if we put Grug in charge? We win. Oh, interesting. Good. Anyway, so the point is they didn't realize why hating America caused them to lose. And Democrats broadly agree that they need to do more to address issues that powered Mr. Trump's campaign. Okay, what are these issues? Well, they say grocery costs. Well, you made them go up by continuous printing of money.
Yes.
So when you say address issues, it's like, you are the cause of the issue. What do you mean by address it? Do you mean make it go up higher? Like, you're the ones who made that come into effect. If it was like the Ron Pauls of the world who'd been running the federal government since 1965, you wouldn't be in this position at all.
Well, they literally had the Biden Inflation Reduction Act, which printed money.
Well, going on to the next thing that they would need to address is quote unquote inflation. Yeah. Well, how do you are the problem.
Yes.
You did this. You're the ones who wanted the COVID spending. You're the ones who wanted the lockdown. You're the ones who put the Biden Inflation Act. You're the ones who increased federal spending through the roof. Like, you are the problem. How could you put, unless I'm misreading this and they're like, yeah, well, inflation wasn't high enough, grocery costs weren't high enough, and the third one, of course, being immigration. It's like, sorry, who essentially demilitarized the border? Who abolished the border? It was Joe Biden.
Demolished bits of the wall.
Yeah, literally.
All of it.
Literally executive fiat just gets, and so under Biden, of course,
actually there was that bit where they almost went to war with Texas.
Yeah.
Because Texas tried
Greg Abbott was getting up on it, and they literally came down on him. And it's like, so you are the problem when it comes to immigration. So how could the Democrats come to a position where they're like, right, okay, so all of those things that were destroying America that we loved, everyone hated, and so they voted for Trump, the grug who doesn't want to destroy America, and now we're losing, and we're going to keep losing forever on this path. How do we turn this around? And it's like, you can't.
It does sound a bit challenging when you put it like that.
I'm glad that I'm not Ken here, who has to work out how to turn destroying America into an appealing populist platform. Right? Like, I don't know what.
Well, I'll tell you one way that you could make destroying America a popular platform: import as many of America's enemies as possible and give them the vote.
Well, they tried that, but the problem is a lot of the people who went to America actually liked America.
Yes, that's why they went there in the first place.
Which is why they went there in the first place, which is why Trump gained in every single demographic category. And the Democrats lost in every single demographic category, right? So even importing people to destroy America doesn't work in the way that the Democrats thought that it would. We're like, yeah, but we brought you all in here to ruin this. And they were like, no, why would I want to ruin this?
So here's me thinking that Doge has got an uphill struggle, but now you've explained it, the Democrats have an even bigger struggle.
Yeah, they're definitely struggling. So the next thing, of course, is how to prioritize traditional concerns like murdering babies. Yep, good point. No, abortion rights is the next thing.
Yes.
How do we sell the murder of babies? Well, we've got the wine drinking single women cohort already.
Yes.
You can't really sell murdering babies to parents because they like their babies.
Yes.
You can't really sell murdering babies to people who can't have babies, which is the next one.
Well, and also it's really not popular with the Latinos that come in.
No, not at all. Yeah,
they don't like it.
No, of course not, because they're Christians.
Yes.
And the next one being LGBTQ equality and climate change, and says right. So on all of the things in which you were the problem. So the climate change thing, of course, is directly tied to energy production, which is why Joe Biden was banning further drilling, banning, making
gas exports,
exactly.
oil field exploration, all that stuff.
Turning America into a dependent country when it comes to energy production, which is mad. If you think you've got an entire continent here, you could probably do it yourself, which happened under Trump. So they're sat there on the issues they have claimed, which are purely destructive issues, done for insane ideological reasons, out of a complete hatred of the United States and its people, right? And they're like, right, we don't know how to market this anymore because we've got to the point where we were doing it entirely through shame, but now they're not being shamed and they're winning and they're quite confident, and we need to basically neg them into voting for us again, and they don't know what to do. So Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas, a Democrat from Texas, says, we have no coherent message. This guy, Trump, is psychotic. So again, entirely negative. Negative. No one thinks Trump's psychotic. Everyone thinks that Trump's winning and getting the job done, right? And there's so much, but everything that underlines it is white supremacy and hate. It's like, go keep yelling white supremacy at stuff. Yeah. When Trump is like, getting the federal budget down so that the debt clock isn't so terrifying to look at. He's like, oh, it's white supremacy and hate. It's like, you are not resonating with anyone. No one believes it.
I remember US politics in the sort of late 90s when I first started paying attention, and shows like The West Wing.
Yeah.
And basically then both sides, the right and the left, would put forward a positive vision.
Yes.
And at some point they realised that when they were in a tight race, negative campaigning against the other guy was actually more effective than building up your own positive case.
Yes, indeed.
But the left basically went all in on that, and now they've got rid of their... So they used to have a positive vision. They got rid of all of it, and now it's just all negative vision.
Yes.
But the problem with that is you can't create anything.
No. But the thing is, they're communists. They don't want to create anything.
Yes.
The fact that things exist contribute to inequality. And so ultimately, they have to reduce everything to the lowest common denominator. And so when they go essentially flip full leftist, because what they would say is, well, Bill Clinton was a conservative. And in this paradigm, yeah, Bill Clinton is a conservative, which is why Trump's a conservative, because Trump is a Clintonite Democrat.
He is.
He's not different to that. Bill Clinton's policy was border wall, deport illegals.
Did you see Bill Clinton at the inauguration?
Yeah, he was loving it.
Yeah.
He was having a great time. It's like, oh, okay.
He's like, yeah, that's one of my policies as well.
This is exactly what I was asking for. It's like, yeah, I guess so. But they carry on and say, well, look, there needs to be a message that is clear that everything Trump is doing is white supremacy and hate. And it's like, look, that's a failed position, right? Even if we were to concede that, well, what you've shown is lots and lots of people who aren't white also agree with that. And so what you're saying is, well, this is the way that the world ought to be constructed for peace, prosperity, and success. And it's like, I don't really agree that that's white supremacy. But even if you do manage to frame it in that direction, well, then you've just sold white supremacy to those people over there, right? And that's why all of these minority cohorts are like, yeah, I know, I'm voting for Trump.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, idiots, right? Idiots. But anyway, Mr. Martin says, Ken Martin says, the policies that we support and the message that we have is not wrong. No, it is.
Yeah, when
It's exactly wrong.
we just established that. Yeah.
I mean, and not just like on an abstract moral level, but on a direct practical level, the rightness and wrongness, again, there's very much Jeremy Corbyn, the rightness or wrongness of any political campaign is whether it wins or not. So you can say, well, no, I was right, really. No, you weren't, because you didn't win, and therefore either it's you as the problem, not being able to project your message, or your message is evil. And in fact, Ken says, well, look, the message is not wrong, so Democrats still destroying America, but he says it's a messaging problem and a brand problem. So, all right, how do you message people? No, it is right for us to destroy America, and this has kind of tarnished our brand, so we need a nicer brand for destroying America. It's like, what is wrong with you people?
I mean, thinking back on it now, when Kamala Harris was interviewed all through the campaign, she couldn't answer a question without attacking Donald Trump.
Yes.
And people would get frustrated and say, okay, look, just imagine that the Republicans don't exist for a second. What would you do? She couldn't answer it because she literally no positive vision.
No, I mean, it would have to be something destructive, which,
yes.
Why would you want to say that? But anyway, so the point being, he says, well, look, we're not wrong morally. It's the messaging and brand that's wrong. Which, again, okay, Hannibal Lecter. The voters are not connecting with the policies with our policies in their lives. And it's like, no, I think the problem is that the voters are connecting with your policies. Yeah. Your open borders, mass inflation, general destruction of America, make everyone dependent on the state. No, voters are actually connected with those, and they've gone in exactly the opposite direction, right? Because they can see, look, what you're doing is wrong. And so this is an amazing thread from David Weigel, just talking about the broader discussion at the DNC meeting. And he's just literally just live tweeting quotes. There has never been a Native American in leadership at the DNC. If not now, when? Pressing concern for most Americans.
I mean, that is the whole thing. Is let's get the first, whatever it is, transgender.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't we just, on the moon or whatever it is?
Exactly. Can't we do that before we do that? No.
Yeah.
Unlike the other party that is demonizing diversity, we understand that diversity is our greatest strength. Would you listen to yourselves?
Why can't they just give Elizabeth Warren a leadership role?
I don't know. She's too old, maybe? I don't know. No, that's probably not a concern for them. But obviously there were heckling protesters. And the whole thing is just woke nonsense. It's just absolute woke nonsense. Like, you just get this constant flow of communist woke...
I mean, they spent 20 years purging everybody who isn't a woke lunatic.
Yeah, they did.
So now they're trying to rebuild, and they've only got woke lunatics to rebuild with.
Yeah. They're going to take money from good billionaires, but not bad ones. It's like, oh yeah,
what?
Like you haven't been doing that already.
So George Soros and
not
Bill
Elon
Gates,
Musk.
good billionaires, are they?
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what they're saying. But anyway, it just goes through, and it's... just ridiculous nonsense. Like Jen Psaki asked Somali twice about why Dems spending on abortion ads didn't work. It's like, look, we want to kill your children is the underlying message there. And the response was, I respect your ability to ask me that question. Then he pivots to climate change. It's like, what? Like, you are not serious people. You're desperately ideological.
At any right-wing gathering, that would not stand. If you just avoided the question,
the audience would boo.
Yes,
like, answer the question. You know, but this is ridiculous. And so, anyway, as you can see, it's just insanely woke. There are some great video clips going around, which is hilarious.
Hello, Democrats. Hey, I am speaking. And I would love your attention. There is a black woman at this podium, and I deserve your attention like the 11 people who went before me. Yes, I am speaking.
Good evening, Democrats. Look up here. 3 strong.
I believe she's speaking, mate. When is she not speaking? I would love your attention. We know.
Well, presumably when she's eating, which I gather she does a lot.
But seriously, I mean, like, look at this. 3 strong black women standing. You've learned nothing. You are selfish narcissists with a literal campaign platform of destroy America as quickly as possible.
I mean, also, even if you are a black woman, you've still got to say something interesting. Otherwise, why are you at the podium?
But do you, though? If you're at the Democrat National Committee, do you really? Anyway, there's more. I mean, it's just comical how.
Our rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous elections, our elected officers at this point are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must add 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender.
What?
No idea. Who cares? Like, what are you losers doing?
What is he even talking about?
Recommitting to the most woke nonsense they can. So, unsurprisingly, this isn't going very far. I mean, they've elected David Hogg as the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee.
Well, is that the guy with the same name as that little twat who...
No, it is the little twat. Like, you can see his picture in the background there. It's that skinny little...
Well, him?
Yeah, they've elected him to be the vice chair of it.
Okay.
Of the party.
Of the DNC?
Yeah. And it's so... Okay, so you're not changing your perspective on destroying America. You're not changing your perspective on woke nonsense, identity politics, gender ideology, all this sort of stuff. And you're getting your most radical activists to fill the institutional seats of power in the party.
So the party...
This is wild.
The party that was once headed up by people like JFK and Lyndon Johnson and, you know, other notable figures throughout history is now being co-led by David Hogg.
Yes.
And a black
woman is speaking.
I don't think this is going to work.
No, I'm not sure it is either. And so, I mean, you've got the wider culture of it, like the Grammys are DEI is not a threat, it's a gift. So you can see, like, you know, the blob of the woke culture, with the Democrats being the sort of apex of it, and then it's spreading out into their various cultural organs. That's not going anywhere. They're doubling down on all of this. No, this may have brought the Democrats to the most catastrophic defeat they've had in a generation, and probably my lifetime. But that's okay.
It does seem like they're keen to one-up it at the next election.
Yeah, it does seem that way. And so you've got the sort of old dinosaurs, and like Chuck Schumer, who's just like, well, I'm going to try and go on the attack, guys. An unelected shadow government is conducting a hostile takeover of the federal government.
Well, that happened after World War II.
Yeah, but also, Chuck, no one believes that.
Yeah.
Right? Donald Trump won the popular vote. He won the House, the Senate, the judiciary, the popular vote, the culture itself, everything that is possible for you to win in the American electoral system. Donald Trump has won. And it's not like he was shy about saying, look, I've got Elon Musk. We're going to clean up the federal government. We're going to cut all this down. It's in no way that it was secret. It's in no way, and like we did in the first segment, it's not like they're hiding any of the information from us. They are showing us absolutely everything they're doing, and all he can do is be like, an unelected shadow government is hostile takeover. No.
It's a bit weak.
It's piss weak. No one believes it.
Yeah.
Well, that's got no teeth whatsoever. Everyone's just like, well, okay, Chuck. I'm sure that's going to play well on the Twitter, but no one no one thinks this because it's not a reflection of reality.
The thing is, these people are used to having the weight of government and the full force of the media behind them.
Yes, and social media.
And now the tide has gone out and you can see who's swimming naked, essentially.
Yes, and a well-funded activist class around them, things like this.
Oh, yeah, and because all that was getting funded
Of course
from
it
like USAID and all that kind of stuff.
Of course it was.
So all that whole net, I didn't think of that. That whole network is just going to fizzle away now.
Yeah, the sort of Brooklyn Dad defiant types, that class of people, that's all going away. Right, and so, like you say, Chuck Schumer's just like sat there with the tide gone out going, it's an unelected shadow government. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It's so obviously not. And Elon Musk is just like, lol. They're just mad their shadow government is being dismantled. It's like, yeah, that's precisely what it is. And so just as a quick thing to end on, because I realise it's gone on for a bit, but I thought this was worth enjoying.
Yeah.
People just don't like the Democrats, right? So the Quinnipiac poll has just come out just over a week after being sworn into office. So it's not like Trump hadn't had a week of destroying everything that they did.
Yes.
Trump hit the ground very quickly, started doing a lot of things, and this was all over the news. So it's fair to say that voters know what's happening. 46% of voters approve of the job Trump is doing, while 43% disapprove. So he's got a net approval rating, which he's never had before.
No.
He's never had this.
Well, it's actually rare for any leader to get a net positive.
Absolutely is. So Trump has a net approval rating, which is, again, the first. I mean, last time he was president.
Oh, yeah. I remember, yeah.
He only 36% approved of the job he was doing, while 44% disapproved. So he's...
The media managed to keep pushing it down.
Exactly. So he has literally got a 10% increase with a 1% decrease in detractors. So superb, right? A majority of voters, 54%, say they are generally optimistic about the next 4 years of Trump, with Trump as president, with 42% are generally pessimistic. So most people think, oh yeah, things are going to get better now. He's a positive approval rating. I think people think things are getting better, right? 44% support deporting all undocumented immigrants and sending them back to their home countries, while 39% only support deporting undocumented immigrants convicted of violent crimes, and 6% oppose both scenarios. So only 6% of people are like, no, we need to keep them all here. Almost everyone else is just like, yeah, no, let's get rid of them.
That 6% is not even all Democrats.
No, probably not. 43% of voters have a favourable opinion of the Republican Party, whereas 45% have an unfavourable opinion, which is the highest, frankly, they've ever had.
Still pretty good for
since
a party.
They started. Well, it's the highest they've ever had since asking that particular question in their polling, right? 31% of voters have a favourable opinion of the Democrats, whereas 57% have an unfavourable opinion. Right? And this is the highest since they begun asking that question. The highest dislike,
yes,
and the lowest like. Like the Democrats have screwed it completely.
Oh yeah.
And so who knows what happens come the midterms?
I have a question for you though, Cole.
Go ahead.
Key question: are you tired of winning yet?
No. I'm just tired that I'm in Britain and we're not winning, right? I would love for us to have a winning competition with the Yanks. And I'd love to.
Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon.
I know, right? I would love for us to be able to be like, yeah, well, we've done this. Oh, they've done that. But damn, we've got to do this.
Yeah.
You know? No, we haven't got any of that, right?
No.
We've just got the continual...
Living vicariously through our American cousins, yeah.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.